So today's question is, did James Gunn's Superman just break the curse? Did it finally escape the ironclad grip of The Dark Knight and Iron Man, the two movies that have dominated superhero DNA for 17 years?
Superman is the first modern major title comic book movie I've seen that has truly escaped the shadows of the two great comic book films of 2008 that nearly every live-action Marvel or DC film have tried to replicate.
Ever since Iron Man 2008 redefined swagger and The Dark Knight 2008 redefined serious, studios have been trapped. Superhero films had to be grounded. They had to be militarized. They had to have emotional trauma, gray color grading, and at least one world-ending skybeam. And sure, it worked until it didn't. Gunn's Superman says screw that. It goes back to the roots, back to wonder, color, and yes, even camp.
And dullens their plumage. And considering James Gunn made a career in this genre out of Joss Whedon-esque snark, pop culture references, and gross jokes, I find his reverse revolution around the world of superhero cinema to be quite brave.
So here's what we're unpacking today: how Iron Man and The Dark Knight changed superhero cinema, both for better and worse. Why Gunn's Superman was the course correction we didn't know we needed. How sincerity, heart, and even awkwardness are back in style. Whether this movie marks the dawn of a new superhero era, grab your retro capes and rosy-tinted glasses because this ride's not just nostalgic, it's liberating.
The truth is, I am Iron Man.
2008 changed everything. Iron Man gave us charisma wrapped in steel, and The Dark Knight gave us trauma wrapped in black leather. Both films became foundational, rewriting how studios approach superhero storytelling for the next 15 years. The tone shifted. Humor was undercut with sarcasm. Hope was filtered through trauma. The color got dimmed. Suddenly, if your hero smiled too much or wore something remotely comic accurate, it had to be justified through 5 layers of technobabble or psychological torment. Think back, Spider-Man had to earn his mask, Superman had to explain the S on his chest like it was a corporate logo.
We didn't really need. And the only acceptable approach with comic book adaptation was to ground and filter this kid stuff through desaturated militaristic hardware or holographic tech interfaces, all to make these elements more palatable to adults.
The gritty, grounded formula made things feel mature, but let's be honest, it also made them predictable. Every hero became Batman light or Tony Stark in disguise. The result? Tonal sameness. Films lost their emotional individuality. This is what made Gunn's Superman such a disruption. By embracing emotional warmth, vibrant aesthetics, and sincerity, he signaled the genre might be ready to grow up, not by getting darker, but by getting honest. Gunn's Superman dares to be bright, visually and emotionally. The film embraces color, charm, and absurdity without apology. It's a return to the energy of Donner's Superman and Raimi's Spider-Man. Goofy, heartfelt, and inspiring.
Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker was a nerd who got his ass kicked repeatedly. His heroics were cool, but his jokes were lame, yet we loved him.
That line alone captures everything this new Superman does differently. He's not trying to be a god. He's not trying to impress, he just is. And that's what makes it refreshing. Gunn's Kal-El rescues people because he wants to, not because it's his burden. That's the emotional core. The people matter again. Metropolis matters. Lois matters. Even Jimmy Olsen isn't treated like a comic relief sidekick. He's a witness to Clark's humanity.
A state of mind, and that one way or another, over time, these characters are always gonna look a little silly, and grounding them too much clips their wings and dullens their plumage.
This isn't just surface level fun. It's a tonal revolution. It tells us you don't need to make superheroes palatable by making them miserable. You can make them relatable by making them human. Gunn's Superman isn't afraid of its comic book roots, it embraces them, sometimes literally. He lets Superman be larger than life, but also grounded in his relationships. This is where the film stands out. It merges cosmic stakes with small human moments in a way few modern superhero movies dare to try. Instead of being embarrassed by that, Gunn leans in. He knows that flying men in tights will always be a little goofy, and that's part of the charm. The movie doesn't try to explain away every trope with sci-fi mumbo-jumbo. Sometimes the cape just flows because it looks cool.
But James Gunn's Superman asks, maybe there was something to the approaches of Sam Raimi and Richard Donner that we moved on too quickly from. That camp is really a state of mind, and that one way or another, over time, these characters are always gonna look a little silly.
But what truly sells it is the sincerity. The movie's emotional tone isn't undercut by jokes or self-mockery. When Clark smiles, it's because he means it. When he saves someone, the film lets that moment breathe. The combination of childlike wonder and adult responsibility is rare, but here, it feels natural. Gunn shows us that sincerity doesn't have to mean naivety, and that idealism, when written with care, is incredibly powerful. In a post-ironic media landscape, Gunn's Superman dares to be emotional, corny, even noble, and it works. With any big tonal shift, reactions are bound to be mixed, and that's exactly what we're seeing with Gunn's Superman. For many, it's a refreshing blast of joy in a genre that's been smothered in self-seriousness. For others, it's a bit too campy, a little too chaotic.
I find his reverse revolution around the world of superhero cinema to be quite brave. So, what happens? Again, no spoilers.
That reverse revolution is real. Critics from NPR to Polygon have praised the film's sincerity. NPR called it corny but inspiring, highlighting how it dares to be idealistic in a cynical age. Business Insider said it's silly and heartfelt, and that's exactly the line it walks. A tone that could crumble in the wrong hands, but somehow works because it's fully committed. Others have been less charitable. The New Yorker said it was narratively thin, and some fans felt that the Justice Gang subplot was underbaked. It's a tightrope walk, and depending on your taste for weirdness, it either dazzles or disorients. What everyone seems to agree on is this: it's not boring, it's not lifeless, it's not another gritty retread. Even those who didn't love it admit it's a bold, vibrant swing, and after years of formulaic superhero content, that's worth celebrating. So what does this all mean for superhero cinema moving forward? If Superman proves anything, it's that audiences are hungry for something new, but not new in the way studios thought. This isn't about more multiverses or higher stakes. It's about feeling again. It's about reclaiming emotional storytelling.
But then, somewhere in the fan distaste with Spider-Man 3 and the undisputed success of the 2008 films, we crossed an inflection point where the only way in these movies to respond to things like superhero nomenclature, catchphrases, and costumes was with a big ol' eye roll, or some like overcomplicated origin story for the name and costume that we didn't really need. And
that mindset shift could shape the next decade of comic book movies. Gunn didn't just make a film, he made a blueprint. If DC follows through, we could see a cinematic universe that values character over spectacle, optimism over nihilism, myth over machinery. Marvel fans are even taking notice. Early comparisons are being made between Superman and the golden days of Phase 1, but there's something even more earnest here. Something older, something maybe timeless. Now the ball's in Warner Brothers' court. Will they back Gunn's vision long term? Will they resist the urge to pivot after one box office dip? If they stay the course, we might finally get a superhero universe where belief isn't a gimmick, it's the core. Hope is back in style, let's not lose it. James Gunn's Superman didn't just reboot a character, it rebooted an entire attitude. It escaped the long, heavy shadows of Iron Man and the Dark Knight, not by being louder or darker, but by being warmer, weirder, and more honest.
his lung is punctured, making the whistle he's about to emit especially painful.
We've spent 17 years trying to be serious enough to justify superheroes, but maybe what we needed all along was to let them be super without apology. Gunn didn't just wink at nostalgia, he weaponized it for something new. A future where a hero's heart matters more than their hardware. And maybe that's exactly the reset we've been waiting for. Now we want to hear from you. Was this the tone reset we all needed? Did Superman truly fly beyond the genres post-2008 limits? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell like Clark hits orbital velocity. Until next time, stay weird, stay heroic, and remember, sometimes the bravest thing a superhero can do is smile.